Well, here it is. I promised I was going to give a kind of breakdown of where I'm at on the new furnace build, and I decided, being that it's mid-April in central Wisconsin and we're getting hit with 3 inches of snow and it's planning on snowing the next 2 days, I would do it inside. So this is what I have accumulated other than the 55-gallon drum. I wasn't about to bring that inside just for a video, but for you nitpickers, there you go. I drew a picture of it, and yes, I did graduate kindergarten art. Math class, maybe not, but art I did. Though in high school I did fail in art class once, but that's a story for another time. So what I did was, as I was coming up with money and I was buying stuff a little bit at a time, and I started with the wool here, and I ordered 3 of them the first time. They were $14.49 a piece, times 3 is $43.47. Shipping on that was kind of pricey. Anyway, the total on that order ended up being $66.17 for the first 3. The second time that I ordered it, which I wish I would have known going into it, I ordered 2 things. I got the K-bond. This is the stuff that you paint on the wool to protect it. I ordered those both at the same time. Ended up paying $15.23 each for the wool, and $22.49 for the K-bond. I don't remember what the shipping was, and it didn't show up on anything, but I think it was pretty close to the same. And these guys here on eBay, this Aya Knows Best, he was really helpful for me for figuring out what I wanted to do and go through, and very helpful. Answered a lot of questions for me. So then the other thing that I got was this bucket of Castable refractory, and currently they have it on sale. They're having their 11% off rebate, but regular price was $31.99. So, and then I have 2 boxes of these fire bricks, which I'm not exactly sure that these are the ones that I'm going to use, or if I'm even going to use brick. I thought about maybe just using these on the base. I'm not quite sure. Worst case, if I don't use them on the furnace for the Foundry, I am planning on building a forge as well, which those should be good enough for the forge. I still plan on painting the K-bond here on those to protect those too, just because these are 2,000 degree. The wool that I got is the 2600, and I believe this was good to 3,000. I know I got it doesn't say on here at the moment, but I know I got the better stuff for this. Oh yeah, 3,000 degrees, because I wanted this. I'm hoping to be able to build this to do cast iron. I'm not exactly sure that that's going to work out, but anyway, so breakdown of what I have invested so far is $15 for the 55-gallon drum at the scrapyard, which I know you can get them cheaper than that. A lot of times you can even get them free watching Craigslist and stuff, so for most that probably wouldn't even be a consideration. And for the record, in case you didn't figure this out already, I'm going to be using the drum as the base for building the shell of the furnace. I will be cutting it down and slicing it to get it the right diameter and stuff. I'll do it on shop welding up and everything. But so $15 for the drum. With tax, it was $33.75 for the Castable refractory. With tax, $31.54 for the 2 boxes of the bricks, which again may or may not be using. $66.17 for the first set of 3, and then $45.7, that's with shipping, and then $45.78 for the second ones, $22.49, and then plus, like I said, I'm pretty sure there was some shipping. There might not have been. It might have, he might have given me a deal on it because I came back to him. So I'm right around the $215, $230 mark invested into it with everything I have here. If you don't count the bricks, I know I've seen some of the foundries or some of the furnaces, some of the Devil Forge and that either are just the wool, the coated wool, or they're completely castable, or they're castable with wool, but just haven't decided that part. That's something that I'm still working on and hopefully getting some input on. So that's the money part of it. Oh, and then I currently have a number 12 graphite clay crucible that I got off of eBay for $40.77. And so now, this is where I'm at right now in the design phase. I'm trying to figure out what all things to consider. So how big do I make it? Do I want to, do I make it as big as I can because I do plan on casting larger things, or do I stay with the size that will work with the number 12 crucible for now, and then when I get better at it, then know that I'm going to have to do all of this and build a larger one. I think the drawbacks on building it too large is that then it takes more energy to heat up when you're doing small pours. So that's kind of a horse apiece there. I'm thinking for now that I want to make it a little more. I want to make it probably closer to just big enough to do maybe a number 12, stay with the number 12, or maybe the 14 or 16, but not a monster, just because most of the pours shouldn't be that much. I shouldn't be pouring 20 pounds of brass when I'm doing this. So let me set you down here so you're not shaking around so much. So yeah, anyway, so I'm thinking about just making it just big enough for the 12. Then the next thing I need to figure out is, am I going to do just the wool on the inside, or the wool and the brick, or just bricks, or what the design is. I that's the part that I'm still kind of up in the air about, and that's probably one of the biggest drawbacks, or one of the biggest hang-ups, I should say, that is keeping me from just building it. That's why I haven't built it yet. I've had this stuff some of this stuff I had for 4 months now, but I'm trying to buy once, cry once, I guess, and try to make sure that I get as much input and as much consideration as I have with the things that I want to do on it. Next thing is the drain hole versus a sacrificial base. And what I'm talking about there is, so if we're looking at the body of the furnace here, do I want to have the base here made out of bricks, these cheap ones, so that if I have a crucible failure, I can take the bricks out and change that? Or do I want to put a hole in that so that if it fails, it melts, and it runs out? I'm leaning more towards just the bricks. I haven't decided on the show. We'll come to that part, but that is something that I'm trying to figure out. Do I do the drain hole, or do I do a sacrificial base? Also, being that I am considering, and wanting to be able to do cast iron, do I do 2 holes in the burner so that when I want it to either heat the copper, aluminum, whatever up faster, or if I'm doing cast iron, I can throw 2 burners in there. So another thing, 1 hole or 2 holes for burners. Not sure on that. Now the lid versus the shell opening, the next level. Now here's where I was getting into that. So do I want to have just the base, and then the body of it goes onto the base and the lid goes on there, so that I can take the lid off to do the flux, to add metal, to scoop dross, and then when I want to do the pour, I can take the whole body off of it? Or if I have a failure, I can take the body off and change base? Or do I do the easier route and just have the base and the body all together, and then the lid separate that way? So that's just another one of the things that I'm trying to think of. And the next thing on the list is, do I do the lid on hinges, just removable or on a lift mechanism. So my current one, I have hinges here. It's so that I can just tip it over, it stays in place and goes. But the current one, I don't have any insulation on the lid, so it doesn't heat up well enough to do copper. It's kind of inconvenient that way. I'm losing a lot of energy that way. I'm planning on doing the lid. I'm either going to be doing it with castable or with the wool, and so I just don't, I'm not sure that the hinge is going to be the best idea on it. It might, just kind of something to figure out. I know I don't want it just removable where you have to pick it up and set it somewhere, because that to me that's just going to be problems. My first lid was kind of like that, and it was just a pain in the butt. So I definitely want the lid attached somehow, whether it swings over or if it's hinged, or I believe it's SW Dweeb has something where he can step on it and it lifts it up. Veg Oil Guy has an electric foundry that has a lift mechanism on it. I know the Devil Forge that some of these guys have, that's just a hinge. So, but I'm not quite sure what those Devil Forge has for insulation on the lid. So that's something that I need to try to figure out. Here's just kind of a quick drawing that I did of what I'm trying to decide if I want just the wool in the steel drum or if I want wool inside of a layer of bricks in the steel drum. I know that this would insulate better, but is it really necessary? I don't know. I mean, if I do just the wool, can I get by with 1 or 2 layers of this 1-inch wool to give me enough insulation, or do I need to do 1 or 2 inches of wool plus the fire brick, and would these bricks be enough, or would I need to get the thicker, the 2.5-inch insulating bricks? Again, I'm not sure. I'm new to this. I'm trying to watch as many videos as I can, but there is some conflicting information out there, and it is kind of how you're going to use it and what works for you and what fits in your budget. So some things are not just clearly cut and dried like I was hoping them to be. Next thing I'm thinking about is, do I want to put a preheat rack so that it swings over the top of the exhaust hole, so that when I'm doing a large pour I can heat up the ingots, or I melt a lot of scrap metal. Do I put the scrap metal or ingots so that I can put them over the exhaust, not covering it off, but above it, so that they can be preheating while the metal in the crucible is melting, so that it's more efficient that way. It seems like a good idea to me, but is it worth the hassle? I don't know. Now here's the drawing for the lid that I was thinking about. So both of these are upside down now, and so do I want to just fill the lid in with the castable, or do I want to do a spiral round wool with, cutting this into like 2-inch strips and then spiraling it around to fill the lid in? Not quite sure what's gonna be better there. I like the idea of the wool because it's lighter, and I think if I ran like stainless wire fish through it to hold it in place and then painted the K-bond on there, I think that might be the better way to do it, but I'm not sure how that would hold up. And same thing with the refractory. I don't know how that's going to hold up to the heat cycles and crack it and whatnot. I know you can put you weld bolts or washers or things like that to hold it in place. Not exactly sure, so I'm working on that part as well. And then, like I said, I'm hoping to be able to do cast iron at some point. I'm not sure that that's gonna be the case with this one. I know I'd have to do forced air or the oil burner with forced air, but hopefully someday I will be able to do the cast iron. I know propane can get hot enough with forced air, because I burnt a hole in the side of one of my steel crucibles when I was doing aluminum by adding air from the air compressor to it. So I know it's capable of it, but whether it's actually not plausible or efficient, but whether it's actually, you know, a practical way of doing it, that I'm not sure of. So, and then the other thing is, I've been burning a lot of frickin' propane going through this. I betcha I've run through, geez, $200 worth of propane in the last 4 months with my, well, I guess it's a little longer than that, you know, probably about 6 months with my concrete furnace. But the thing is, that concrete one was so terribly inefficient. I mean, and when I first started using it, I didn't even really have a lid on it. I literally just took a garbage can lid over the top of it, which helped a little bit, but it, you know, and when I first started, I burnt for an hour, and it didn't even get copper soft. So it would work for aluminum all right, but it wouldn't do copper. So you know, forced air would definitely be the way to go if I was running anything, you know, and like getting into the copper, cast iron, things like that. But I'm not sure. So I know for this foundry, for this furnace, I'm not going to be doing the electric, but I wouldn't mind building another one down the line somewhere that is electric. Just the propane, you know, with the smaller tanks freeze, and the regulating, and it just, you know, and plus when you're doing a lot of it, and propane gets pricey. So, you know, when you're spending $15 for a 20-pound tank, and you know, it'll add up. So it is convenient and clean, but you know, there's kind of a trade-off there. You know, you end up paying for it. So. Anyway, so that is kind of where I'm at. I'll do another quick, real quick zoom in on these. So again, I was on YouTube. That's I don't know if that's gonna focus. Sorry, it's Aya Knows Best. Maybe I'll get a link in the description somewhere down there. And this is the 2600 degree ceramic fiber Cerachem. They do have some less expensive stuff that doesn't handle quite the temperature either. Same thing with the K-bond stuff. You know, there's some other stuff available too. These, like I said, these are just the Menards fire bricks. These are meant more for wood burners, wood stoves, and things of that nature. That it's not really meant to be in a furnace, but it is a 2,000 degree tolerance. You could paint it with this too, and plus I wasn't going to put the flame directly on this, although these are what I did use in my other video in my ceramic, or in my cement furnace, and they are holding up fine, and that's even without the K-bond on it. But it's also got a really inefficient lid, and you know, and I've only done a few burns with it, so I don't know that that's necessarily a long-term having it directly in contact with the flame and stuff. And then the castable refractory, also from Menards, basically $32. It's 25 pounds of it. It says it withstands 2,400 degrees. You know, how much I'm going to get out of that, I don't know. When I bought this, I was hoping that I would get enough to, depending upon if I decided to use this for the base or the lid, you know, that if I got one or the other, or else if I was going to do it for the like where the brick was. I thought about doing that too. Instead of using the bricks, use the castable. I think that's probably ideal, but if it's necessary or not, I'm not sure. I'm sure that would be a lot easier than cutting bricks to do all of that. Anyway, so there you have that, and you know, I'm definitely interested in hearing anybody's input on any of the things that I've just gone through with that. I am hoping to get going on this, and I don't know, in the next week or two, hopefully sooner, sooner rather than later, because man, I am anxious to start pouring some copper regularly. I've had a couple of pours with some copper and some aluminum bronze it's got me stoked. It's really, you know, I caution anybody that's looking to get into this, because once you get to pouring metal, it is an addiction. And you know, when Big Stag D did that one little video where he was looking around at the bicycle and the sink and stuff, you know, I can relate, man, because once you get pouring, it's just like everything becomes, oh, can I cast that? Oh, I could melt that, you know. And just tread lightly if you are getting into this. So, well, that's going to be it for now. So thanks for watching, and please like or share or subscribe. If you didn't like anything, just let me know. And I'm just starting out, and I'm trying to make things better. So I appreciate all the input that I can get. And always remember, you don't have to have the answer. Just try not to be part of the problem.